I want to welcome everybody here. My name is Tobin Brown, and one of the proudest things I've ever called myself is Isaac's dad. And I do thank everybody for coming and being a part of us saying goodbye to Isaac. Um, One of the things that Isaac developed as he kind of moved into recovery, he kind of had a little sense of it before that, is the idea of a higher power or God. And so, what I would like to do, and at least for me, but back up just a little bit, for me, I know everybody might be in a different place with that word or that idea, and that is fine. Um, what I'm going to ask of you is to just we're going to take a moment of silence and kind of individually and hopefully collectively maybe bring a spirit of love into the room. Um, if that means thinking of Isaac or the way that Isaac thought of you, that's fine. That's awesome. If that's something else, that's awesome. For me, when I think of God, I think of pure love, love in its purest form. And when I think of that, I think of Simon and I think of Isaac, and that's what works for me today. So if you would all just take a moment with me and just in silence. Thank you. Um, I want to. There's a lot of people from a lot of different a few different places on the live stream from here down in Florida and in Boston, and I appreciate them being here too. Those are everybody who took their time to be here in some sort of way. There was some people in Isaac's life in the most recent years that I want to personally thank that have been a big help to him in his recovery. And I know I'm always going to miss some people when I do this, and I hope that doesn't bother anybody. And I want it to be said that I'm always in thanks of the people that loved Isaac and his family and his friends. But there's a young man named Tyler that Isaac played baseball with from the time they were little kids, and they were friends to this day. And I remember meeting Tyler like for real down in Florida, and they were always in each other's corner. And sometimes they would fall out with one another, but they always found their way back to each other. And I know that Isaac got a lot of support from Tyler, and I want to thank him for that. There's a guy down in Florida named Sean Farrell that actually brought Isaac down to Florida for recovery. And Isaac had a very up and down time down in Florida, and Sean, no matter what, was always there to help Isaac, to get him off the street or to get him into detox. I believe Sean saved his life many times, and I want to thank Sean for that. And along with Sean is a man named Jay Jonas, who helped Isaac in the same sort of way and never gave up on him. And these two men never judged Isaac and were always there to help him. And Jay was in his life in the last 6 months as a mentor that Isaac was in constant contact with. And Isaac had a lot of love and a lot of respect for Jay. At one time, at Isaac's lowest, he had nowhere to go. He was getting out of detox, and some guys at a place called Right Way Sober Living put Isaac into their house. And I'm really good friends with one of the guys named Yuda, but all those guys, Richie, AJ, and Lee, really stepped up and helped my son. And I want to thank them for that. There's a guy that encouraged me a lot. His name is Lou. and I got a lot of support and love from Lou. And he tried to do that for Isaac. I got to say that Isaac wasn't very receptive at the time. But I know that Isaac very much appreciated it and would tell me about that. He spent the last 2 years, two years and a couple months up in Boston. And there's some people up there that have been really special to me and very, very special to Isaac. Mikey, he met Mikey when he went to treatment up there at Banyan, and he watched Mikey grow in his recovery, and Isaac has so much love and so much respect for Mikey. It was one of the guys that was a role model for him. And one of the things that Mikey told me last night on the phone was that it's really important for him, if he was here today, that he would want to say that it's not the way that Isaac passed away, but it's the way that Isaac lived his life. And that he had a big, big impact on guys in recovery up in Boston, and a lot of he was a leader. There's a woman named Jenna who Isaac thinks the world of, and who Isaac was very, very close with. And I know that she's having a really tough time right now with this. And she was always there for Isaac and watched him grow and supported that growth. And she has actually been a big help to me during these past 2 weeks. We actually spent a morning on the phone making each other laugh, telling stories about Isaac, and it's a conversation that still helps me carry on today. And I just want to thank Jenna. I think the world of her, and I know that Isaac loved her so much. And there's a guy up there named Richie, who Isaac met at Banyan Treatment. And they became very close, and I think the world of Richie. Richie was the guy that got Isaac into the Marines. He saw something in Isaac while he was at Banyan. And Isaac getting into the Marines and making it through boot camp was one of his extraordinary things that he accomplished that he was very proud of. And I know that he had a whole lot of people watching him through that with my Facebook messages and stuff like that, posts about him getting through boot camp. And Isaac had some hard times after the Marines, and every time that I called upon Richie to help my son, Richie said yes, without question. He didn't hesitate, and he was a man of action, and he loved Isaac. And Isaac loved him, and I have a tremendous amount of respect for Richie. And I just wanted to thank those people. And of course, there's a whole lot more people in Isaac's life, and the ones that I don't know about, or the ones that I don't mention, I thank them too. One of the things about raising a son like Isaac, and especially in the recovery part, was that I needed help with him. I needed a lot of help with him, and these are some of the people that stepped up. When I think about Isaac, I can't help but go back to what he was like as a kid. He was so much fun. We had a blast together. I just love that kid. He was a fun little kid. I remember one time I came home from work, and Isaac had learned to play freeze tag that day. And I come home, and it's just me and Isaac. And he's like, "Dad, I learned how to play freeze tag today." He's like, "Let's go play freeze tag." And I'm like, "Son, you can't play freeze tag with two people. Like, it just doesn't work." Dad, come on, you're not going to play freeze tag with me? Come on, I want to play freeze tag. And so I'm like, all right, let's go play freeze tag. I said, but I'm going to be it. So we get outside, and he's running around, trucking around, and I get him, and he's like, and I'm like, all right, man, I'm going in to watch TV. He's like, why, you can't do that, you got to unfreeze me. I'm like, why would I do that? And I start walking inside, and I hear this voice, this game sucks, behind me. Yeah. He also was this kid that had like a sense of justice, a sense of right and wrong. I'm not saying that he always followed that. I'm just saying he had a sense of that. And sometimes at the apartment complex, there was a lot of kids playing, and they would be playing outside. I would be inside sometimes. And Isaac would come in, and he's just a mess. He's tired. He's just been running around. He's sweaty. He wants to get a drink of water. And while he's doing that, he's telling me everything that all the other kids did. You know, this guy did this, and he did that. And then before he would leave, he would be like ready to go out the door, and he'd be like, and I pushed the kid, and I might have said bitch twice. All right. He also had a big. He also was very loyal to his friends, and he had their backs, even as a little kid. One time, again, they were outside playing, and Isaac comes in, and he's like, Dad, this kid's hitting me. He won't stop hitting me. He's like all a mess, and I go out there, and this kid is Isaac's about 7, and this kid's about 13. And I come outside, and this kid's like, Mr. Brown, I'm so sorry. Your son just wouldn't stop hitting me. So I hit him, and what happened was they were playing football, and Isaac thought this kid was picking on his brother. And he went after this kid that was probably like twice as tall as he was, and he just felt like he had to do that. And I know that loyalty was always a big thing with Isaac. One of the things I'm going to miss is just hearing Isaac talk. He had a certain way about him, to say the least. In Boston, when he went up to Boston in 2017, he took Philly slang and Isaac slang and brought it to his own language, to Boston. Not only that, but he got this whole crew of people up in Boston speaking in this new Isaac slang, calling everybody Bull, and like Richie Bull, Jenna Bull. Everything was a John. And he would say things like, we don't like him, Jay. He's a draw. And I would call Richie, and Richie would be talking like this, and I'd be like, where did you learn this? I'm like, what are you saying to me? He's like, your son talks like that. We're all talking like that now. Like, the other part about Isaac that a lot of us have experienced is you can't remember this kid without remembering how endearingly annoying he could be. You know what I'm talking about, Richie, Jenna, Mikey, and the rest of us. He really knew how to push our buttons. It was a part of his charm, and actually, and in his way, it was him telling us that he loved us. But I have never had a kid push my buttons like Isaac used to push my buttons. And I'm going to seriously miss that. We were down in Florida together, and he lived about 45 minutes away. And I used to go pick him he lived in Boynton Beach, and I would be so excited to pick this kid up, go to the beach or go out to lunch. And sometimes within 10 minutes of getting in the car, like, I want to drop this kid just in the middle of the road. But, yeah, I'm going to miss that a lot. He loved his family very much. Isaac was very family-oriented. They meant a lot to him. We all did. All of us call ourselves family. He asked about everyone all the time. He would always talk to me about how much he wanted his mom and Dave to be proud of him. He very much valued his time with Susie and her kids. He loved helping Matt navigate the world. He felt a sense of love from his family. He appreciated a family that laughed. He loved when anyone took the time to try to make him laugh. He loved our family's silliness, the stupid dad jokes we tell, which he would share on Facebook. For instance, a Buddhist monk goes up to a hot dog stand and says to the vendor, "Make me one with everything." He really did like dad jokes and puns. He loved just hanging out with the family in a living room, giggling and messing about. He really, really, truly loved that stuff. He had a very special, loving relationship with his Juju. It's his grandmother, my mom. We call her Juju. So many memories I know they shared, like lighting the incense with him and saying Om, Om. The meditation so that he could wind down and sleep at night. The gardening, the movies, the cooking, the household projects, and most of all, the unconditional love. Isaac was not only my son, Isaac was a key member of my support group, as I'm in recovery too. Isaac was one of the guys that I would call when I needed a pickup or I needed even some wise words. There's so much that I admire about Isaac. The kid, young bull, G, my baby boy. I admire how many times Isaac got knocked down and got back up. He was a fighter. I admire his loyalty, his positive impact on the people around him, and the newcomer to recovery. I admire his indomitable spirit and his unique sense of humor and his silliness. I admire how he always had hopes and dreams, his ability to fight through the storm and look to the future. I'm really proud of the relationship that Isaac and I built together. I just knew that our relationship before recovery needed serious restructuring, and I told him this. We both committed ourselves to that process. We agreed that any topic could be discussed without forcing each other to walk on eggshells, and we agreed to listen to each other without armoring up and getting defensive. We agreed to listen with an open mind and an open heart. We agreed to be honest. We were thus able to work through our past transgressions with each other to forgive one another. So we both knew every day how we felt about each other, which was a lot of love and a lot of respect. It kind of freed us up to live in the present with one another. That has helped me to get through this without drowning in regret. Our relationship was in no way perfect, but it worked for us. It is one of the best things that happened to me with getting to a certain point with Isaac, that we were living in the present, we weren't living in the past. And I just want to say that it may have been my idea for us to work on our relationship, but where we got, I couldn't have gotten there with just me. I needed Isaac to do that, and he was more than willing. And he was more than willing even when things weren't going so great with him. And I will always cherish the two of us getting to a point in our relationship where it was. And like I said, it wasn't perfect, but it worked for both of us, and I'm just really proud of him. It took a lot took a lot at times for him to be able to do that, you know. And it was very mature of him, which neither one of us are always known for, you know. I also want to thank some people that helped me to be able to be a better father to my son. I want to thank a man named Pat Rogan, who taught me about integrity and that sobriety could equal freedom. I want to thank my friend Rocky, who showed me unconditional love and a unique and sometimes absurdist view of the world. And he gave me the tools to bolster my own self-worth and my self-love so that I could be a better father to Isaac. I want to give a huge thank you to my South Florida Wellness Network family that is way more than a workplace, especially to my friend and my CEO, Susan Nyamura, who taught me the value of becoming the best version of myself and trusting my instincts as a parent. I also want to thank my brother Randy, who for me is my measuring stick. He's one of the most kind and compassionate men that I have in my life, and to see him be such a present and kind and compassionate parent and husband, like I said, he's my measuring stick, and he always has been. My family support, my mom and my sister Stephanie, they never ever give up on me, and they never judge me. And if I didn't have my family, I wouldn't have been able to have the relationships that I have with Isaac and with my son Simon, who I want to thank. Simon has always veered me to the better version of myself. Simon has always hated the action, but not the actor, when it came to his brother. He didn't judge him, you know, and he cared about him, and he loved him. And my relationship with Simon is very different than it was with Isaac, and Simon teaches me the right way. And I love you, Simon. And your relationship with me is very important to my relationship with Isaac. I want to thank you. And I'm also very, very thankful that we got to spend yesterday together with you and Anna. I know this might sound heartbreaking, but Isaac was just starting to reach for his goals. He worked really hard to be clean for 2 years, and it was one of the most proud moments as a father to present him with his 2-year medallion. I got to meet Jenna and Richie and Mikey in person, and a man named Matt Gannum too, that Isaac always told me about and always held in high esteem. And it was very good to meet them this summer, along with Jimia and her mother, and I thank you guys for coming today. Through his job as a behavioral health tech in treatment and as an alumni coordinator, he had a strong impact on the people he worked with. I think Isaac would want all of you to remember him as I do, as compassionate, as silly AF, non-judgmental, loyal to both family and friends. He had a big heart and a sincere desire to help his brothers and sisters in recovery. He would have been grateful for all the people who came here to say goodbye. For Isaac and our family, his family, we want to thank you, and I say God bless. I just absolutely adored this kid so much. It's hard to even put into words. I do want to have a time where I think it's been helpful for me. No one at all, there's no pressure at all, but I do want to invite one by one anybody who would like to come up here and say some words from their heart. And I do encourage you, if you're kind of on the fence about that it helps. It could help the whole group. We're all grieving today. We're all in this room and on these live streams grieving for Isaac, and you know, maybe sharing a few words about Isaac could be part of that healing. So I want to give people that chance to do that. So with that, I'm going to sit down, and whoever wants to come up can do that.
All right. I've got 6 of these cards. I think the over-under for me making it through this is about 3.5 cards. For those that don't know, I'm Simon, Isaac's older brother. I'm here today with my wife, Anna, who is carrying our first child. And for those that don't know, we're going to have a girl. So a few days after Isaac passed, I looked at Anna. Tears were already falling. And I asked her, what if she's like him? And that seems like a horrible thing to say. It's led me to really think about what was Isaac like. Isaac was curious about everything and anything. As a kid, his default response for just about anything was, but why? Drove our mom crazy. And his curiosity wasn't just about what he was told. He wanted to know how the world worked. And whenever his childhood games of 20 questions led him to something he thought was unfair or wrong, he wanted to change it. So if you can imagine a 9-year-old who is determined to fix every problem in the world, that was Isaac. His curiosity also extended to adventure. He would try ridiculous foods that our dad would just make up on the spot. He tried skiing, skateboarding, riding his bike down a giant hill. Just anything that would make me say, I like having non-broken bones. Isaac would try that. So his 24 years may end up fuller than some people's 80. Isaac was a people person, just about every way you can imagine. If you put him in any group, he'd automatically be the popular one. It's just who he was. One of my favorite stories from him is about his baseball team. When Isaac was in 2nd grade, he was on the Phillies. So, some point in the season, he decided he wanted to dye his hair red. So just one day, shows up to practice, has red hair. By the end of the season, half the team had red hair. They just wanted to be like Isaac. He wasn't just the cool kid, though. He was somebody that could lift up those around him. He always wanted you, and it doesn't matter who you is. He just always Always wanted you to be happy. This week, I had somebody reach out to me that I haven't talked to since high school. I didn't really know that Isaac and this person had a relationship. And he said that when he was going through difficult times back then, Isaac's ability to light up a room and bring out the best in those around him helped him get through it. That's just who Isaac was his whole life, to the point that he finally just made it his job. And then maybe his best quality, something hard to define, but it was easy to see. That's, there was no one I would rather have on my side than Isaac. He was fiercely loyal, always willing to help. And as kids, he and I didn't always get along, but he was the first to my defense in any situation. I remember the first time that I got punched. We were playing backyard football with a bunch of neighborhood kids. One of them got mad at me for some reason. I was really good at making other kids mad. And he hit me in the face. I didn't react. I didn't know what the heck to do. So the kid hit me again. I still had no idea what to do. Then Isaac just tackled the kid. So I'm older than Isaac. This kid was older than me. So Isaac just saw a kid 3 or 4 years older than him. And you're a kid, 3 or 4 years, that's a pretty big deal, especially for size. And saw that kid was picking on me. So Isaac just ran up and flattened him. And then after that, he was just grabbing me and pulling me away. Didn't matter if Isaac and I had been fighting that day or arguing that day. I don't know what the heck we were doing that day. All that mattered is that we were brothers, and I was in trouble. So that's what Isaac was like. If my kid is anything like that, I'll be very lucky. All right. That's all I got for today. Thanks.
How's everyone doing tonight? My name is Jay. For those of you that don't know me, me and Isaac had a great relationship. Growing up, if you saw Isaac, you saw me. The last time I spoke to Isaac, I heard about him going into Massachusetts, and he was starting his career. And I was so proud to hear that. So proud. All I remember him telling me is that he wanted to do better for people, and that he wanted to be the best. He wanted to do the best that he could for himself. Growing up, me and Isaac, we were at Marshall Square Apartments, and I just remember every time I would get in trouble or just want to be out of my house, I would run over to Miss Faith's house and be ready to hang out with Isaac and Simon. I remember after school every day, we used to get all the friends together and play rock band, and he would always want to sing. Or he would want to play the guitar. And then I remember when he first learned how to play guitar, he was trying to teach me, and I was like, I'm just not getting it. And he was like, it's okay, like, I'll teach you. And I think I ended up going to school for music. And I got my love for music from him and from Mr. Toby. I remember the first time I went over there, I saw the the NPC that he had. I was so excited. He was like, "Hey, look, Jay, I'll show you how to use it." I wanted to make sure that I came to show respect. Right now I'm in Arizona, but I was always a close friend and family to his family, and I wanted to make sure, because Isaac was my brother. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Jay.
Hello. I am very sorry that I have to meet a lot of you for the first time like this. My name is Jamia, and I was Isaac's girlfriend for about a year and a half, until very recently. I got the chance to meet Tobin over the summer, and we had a lot of fun, and I have a letter that I wrote for Isaac. Let me take this off, it's getting wet. That I wrote for Isaac that I want to read, but I first want to talk about some happy stuff first. Isaac was like the funniest person I've ever met in my whole life. And like other people said, he wanted to annoy me on purpose because he thought it was funny. And he also loved ice cream, and he loved his family and my family. And my younger sister is 12, and she is a person that they're very similar. Like, she would just come home and be like, "Oh, I punched so and so today," and like, I said this and I said that, and there was an argument, and we're like, "Malia, why did you do that?" And she's like, But he was always like ready to listen to her stories. Like, if he came over to my house, he was like, "What do you got for me today?" Like he would literally just sit on the couch and just listen to her talk. And sometimes I would be at work, and my sister would text me, and she'd be like, "Are you and Isaac coming back today? Like, is he coming over to the house?" And I'm like, "Do you want to see me or do you want to see him? Like, which one is it?" And he was also always like ready to protect me and my family and anyone. Like, I remember one time I was telling him about my friend's boyfriend, that he did something. He was like, "Oh, he doesn't want me and John Munn to come over there," or something. And I was like, "You're right, he probably doesn't." But he was like such a protective person and a loyal person, and I really loved him for that. So let me read my little letter. Dear Isaac, I so desperately wish you were still here to experience all of life's joys with me. I keep thinking of things I want to share with you and show you. And keep thinking of what you would say or do if you were with me in every situation. At the airport, I thought Isaac would be so annoyed standing in this line for TSA. And I would love to share the view from the plane with him and hold his hand while we take off. I'm always gonna miss you, but I think you already know that. I feel so alone without you. You always told me you would be lost without me, but now I'm lost and confused and devastated without you here. I was driving to work, and I seriously almost crashed my car when I heard you pass. I know we talked about what would happen if one of us died, but neither of us fully expected that to happen. You told me you would want me to be happy and enjoy my life, but that is easier said than done. I feel so guilty and sad that I can't share my future with you as we planned. I'm always going to remember our time together and our best moments, like when we fed the stray cats, when we watched the stars at Chestnut, when I brought you and Mac ice cream when you had COVID, when you and I spent like 10 minutes trying to figure out what 1400 meant in military time. That was actually very fun. I was like, Isaac, you were in the military. He's like, oh, it's been a long time. And I was like, dude. It's 2 p.m. for anyone. And attending the World of Warcraft Carnival together. I'll miss your laugh, your smile, and your snoring. You are one of the most special people I've ever met, and I'm having a hard time accepting that we only got such a short period to enjoy together. I'm so happy I got to spend my last 2 birthdays with you. I pray and pray that you knew that I loved and cared for you deeply and always will. I know that you felt the exact same way. You told me I was the love of your life, and I believe it and felt it in the way you cared for me every single day. I'm so sorry everything ended this way, and we never got to do a majority of the things we planned together. You were so excited for the future, and it breaks my heart that you're not here to finish everything you started. You'll always be my best friend, and I'm so glad you chose me to be yours. I'm thankful every day that you were brought into my life and so grateful for everything you taught me. Thank you for giving me the best version of you. When we told each other I love you for the first time, you told me that it's a binding vow and that I'm locked in forever. Well, I love you forever. And he always had like a nickname for somebody. Like every person he made up a name. So he called me like Jamop, Jamipple, like just literally anything he could think of. And that's another thing that I'm gonna miss. Like, I know that when he was here, whenever he would annoy me or say something, I would just be like, come on, but now I'm really gonna miss that. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamia.
I'm Randy, Toby's brother, and Isaac uncle. As I think of Isaac, I can't help but think of Nirvana. Cobain singing, "I wish I was like you, easily amused. Find my nest of salt, everything is my fault, I'll take all the blame." I always admired Isaac's curiosity, question after question, a search for elusive answers. When we sent him a birthday gift of money recently, he wrote back, It feels good to know that you trust me." I think he was really saying is, it feels so good you still love me. I'll miss the random text out of the blue, like this one. "I tried surfing yesterday. The water was insanely rough. The strap broke off my foot. What have you been up to?" Never anything exciting or as interesting as that, for sure. When I drove him to what I think was his first rehab facility, confession after confession spilled out. No one would have made a better Catholic than Isaac. No one was harder on Isaac, I think, than Isaac himself. Forgiveness perhaps everywhere in the world except for him. For everything, everywhere in the world for him except within. On his first plane trip, when my mom, my daughter Chloe, and I took him to Portland to visit his aunt, he couldn't take his eyes off the clouds. The world's so new and enchanting to him. Each moment Isaac filled with that childlike sense of newness, a mix of excitement and anxiety, fear and adrenaline. He at times seemed so wise, an old soul, at others a kid, born anew into a rough, rough world. He shared my love of silliness to see how far we could push it, push others into complete and utter annoyance. And he always had such care and concern for others. "How has COVID been on your mental?" he wrote me. "How are you keeping busy, entertained?" I'll miss that concern, that love he had for all of us, the way he looked up to all of us, the way he held on to the innocent wonderment of the world in spite of all the hardships he suffered through. A famous poem begins, I saw the best minds of my generation destroyed by madness, starving, hysterical, naked, dragging himself through the streets at dawn looking for an angry fix. Angel-headed hipsters burning for the ancient heavenly connection to the starry dynamo and the machinery of night. We lost one of the best ones, one of the searchers, an angel-headed hipster, a silly, loving, complex kid who I and all my family, my wife Meg, my son Jonah, my daughter Chloe, love dearly. We love you, Isaac, and we'll miss you forever.
Hey guys, my name's Dylan. Isaac's been my friend for probably 8 years now or so, and I had the pleasure of him staying with me early in his recovery with my grandma, and I get a little jealous of him because he came right in, and my grandma was right away his grandma. He'd say, right in the beginning, he'd say, "Morning, Nan, what's for breakfast?" And I stayed talking to him the whole time. We played World of Warcraft all the time together and on Discord all the time, and I followed him through his journey, and I'm so proud of him. And he was working at the meat plant and telling me about how that is, and we're trying to combine our schedules to get on so when we can play WoW. And I just always hear his goofy laugh, and just classic Dylan, he'd say when I do something. And I'm going to miss that. And he's one of my few friends I had left, and I still talk to him regularly, and it's just, I love him forever, and he made a huge impact on me, and he had the kindest heart ever, and he was a great friend, and we would not talk for a few weeks, and he'd hear me and my girlfriend fighting or something, and he'd message me and just ask me if I'm okay always, and he was in another state, and I feel like he was never away. It just always makes me laugh. I'm going to miss him for the rest of my life. And he's just an amazing guy. Thank you, guys.
Hi, I'm Jay's mom. Isaac was like my other son. He spent so much time at my house. Isaac, gosh, he kept Jay out of trouble. But if Jay was in trouble with me, Isaac would pop up at the house, and nobody else was allowed in but him. Isaac just had this thing about him, his personality and his smile, like, would just, like, do something to you. I just thought he was, like, the most amazing little boy, and my house was his house. He could walk through, go in the refrigerator, do whatever, and I ain't allowed nobody else to do that. My family, like, Isaac, my whole family knows Isaac, right? My parents, everybody, my son, my dad used to take Jay and Isaac to the farmer's market, and they would be asking him questions. These are both my grandsons, you know, like, he just had a way of touching everybody's heart, you know, like it's just, I don't even really know what to say. I just wanted to come up here and just, you know, give my condolences and just let y'all know how much we loved Isaac. this broke my heart. We don't live here in Pennsylvania anymore, but he was family, so it was, we had to be here to say goodbye. Um, I just want you to know that we love y'all. Y'all been in our life forever, you and Faith. And we loved Isaac, Simon, and I'm sorry.
Yeah, my name's David. I'm Isaac's stepdad. I've known Isaac since he was about 1 year old, and he had the fattest little cheeks that you'd ever imagine on a 1 year old. He looked just like a cherub, but he didn't always act like a cherub. And if anyone knew him, he always had that little 1 year old boy to him, though. I think as soon as he could really talk and articulate, he would always be looking forward to, I can't wait till I'm an adult, can't wait till school's over, can't wait till Christmas. He had some anxiety about him. He didn't really necessarily enjoy the things that he had in front of him, and he was always looking forward to something in the future. Anything he wanted to do, he would be the best at. He wanted to play basketball, he'd be the best player at the courts after just for like a month or two of practicing. And it comes to video games, he would be the best video game player. All sorts of different video games he would be the best at, but he was always chasing something. He could never just enjoy the moment. I wish I could have taught him that. I miss him.
I was just dropping my tissues. I'm Susan, Isaac's aunt. I don't know what I'm gonna say, but I had the pleasure of being there when Isaac was born, and he was a fat little guy. I think Simon was a little bigger though, weight-wise, on the birthday, but he was one of those babies that just came to life when you looked at him, when you showed him something, when you smiled at him, when you made a funny, whatever funny, he just laughed at everything. And his curiosity was crazy. Why? Why? Everything. Everything he wanted to know, the next thing about it, or the deeper part inside of what he sees on the outside. What does that do, and how does it work, and how can I change it? How can I know it better? How can I do something with it? He was very curious, and he was a fun kid. Simon and Isaac and my other nephews spent a lot of time with me before I had my own children. And it was a pleasure to spend holidays with them and have them at my house and let them do whatever they wanted to do. Mess around and get dirty and drive me crazy, and then send him off to mom and dad. It was great. It was definitely a gem to have him come and stay with me when he did for that short time. He helped me tremendously in my life at the time, and he got to know my children as teenagers, and it was probably helpful to me, help that I didn't even know I needed, but it was helpful. And with my animals, oh my God, his love of animals was crazy. And he used to send me videos to work of the dogs, and he'd have this weird voice that he would use for the dog. He was speaking as the dog, Aunt Susie, but the dog's calling me Aunt Susie, right? So the dog is my dog, but I'm Aunt Susie. But the voice, and then he would smack the dogs, hit them. I'm like, why are you hitting the dog? She likes it. She likes it. She likes when you hit her. We would spend, me and Matthew and Amanda in the kitchen, Isaac inevitably on the floor with one of the dogs in his arms, rolling around. He didn't care about the hair. He didn't care about the dirt. Rolling around with the dogs, all of us just talking about our days and just enjoying each other. He loved that time of day because he didn't have a lot going on at the time, and he couldn't wait for us to get home. And we would all talk and spend time together and laugh and be silly, and it was just, like I said, a gem of a moment in time to spend with him. And I was devastated to hear that he had gone, and I will miss him greatly. I'm gonna take a couple of days.
Hi, I'm Stacy, and I've been friends with Toby longer than I'm going to admit to anyone in this room. I've always kind of considered Simon and Isaac my godsons in a way, you know, and I did definitely spend a little bit more time with your brother than with you, Simon, but I love you both the same. I can't really say anything different than what anybody else has said here today. I spent a lot of time with Isaac. He was just what you said, Susan, I was better for knowing him when I was the age I was. He, might have seemed like I was doing him the favor, but bright soul, bright soul. That's all I have to say. I love you.
Sorry, I'm Lorraine, one of Isaac's grandmothers. I didn't get to spend a lot of time with Isaac. He was not a part of my everyday life, but he was always a part of my heart. And I was concerned for him all the time. I loved him all the time. I love Isaac. I love all of my grandchildren and my great-grandchildren. But after my daughter, who I weep for her. It's not supposed to be this way. Excuse me if you can't hear me. I'm not much of a projector. But what I wanted to tell everybody was what I was listening to all of your stories about him laughing and making you laugh. And just last week, I decided to start because my one daughter was telling me that she started reading the Bible. I'm like, I usually read the Bible before I go to bed at night, and then I fall asleep while I'm doing it. So I decided to start reading it in the morning. I started with Genesis. And I'm reading along, and I read about Abraham. And now I'm reading about Isaac. And I'm like, what a warm feeling I got in my heart. But what I really wanted to tell everybody who was in his life and who he made laugh, and the joys that he was looking forward to with everybody, and he just must have emanated that spirit to everyone. But do you know that the name Isaac means he laughs? And he went on to say that he was named He Laughs. But then later in his life, everybody laughed with him, and what everybody said that knew him was he made them laugh. So I just wanted to tell you that. I can't really say that I'll miss him in my everyday life because he wasn't in my everyday life, but he's always going to be in my heart. And I know that he lives in the light of Jesus Christ. I know he's with God. And I just want to say I love everything everybody said, and I'm thankful to be able to sit here and tell you that I was very proud of that good-looking, happy guy, and I was his grandmother. Thank you.
My name is Zidane, for those of you that don't know me. I just felt like, for me, Isaac was like always like an older brother to me, and I wish I had the opportunity to know him as a young boy. I met Isaac when I was a freshman in high school. I'm the oldest, so just me and my brother, and like it was always nice having like someone that like took you under his wing. You know, even if he knew you, he wasn't doing the best. He was always trying to like reach a helping hand out. And one thing I really admire about Isaac is that he was a really proud person. I know about a lot of you guys just from him telling me about you guys. How much like. But I kind of wanted to bounce off what Dylan was saying, like on a funny note. He was always making people laugh. And when you were saying classic Dylan, I just heard classic Zidane. What's he on now? A drawing board. And it was so nice while having him in everyone's life for the time being, and my condolences to the family, and thank you.
Chanel, Jameer's mom. I had the pleasure of meeting Isaac, spending time with him. He talked about his family all the time. He talked about his mom and her dogs. He talked about his dad, his brother, and he told me his brother was expecting his first child. Congratulations. And he also talked about Juju. He said, you know, my grandmother Juju, she was the type of person you would take to a fight with you. He said, Juju was ill. He said, I love Juju. He said Juju and Jameer's nanny would be best friends if they got to meet each other, if they ever got to meet each other. Isaac was just an amazing person. He put a smile on my daughter's face every day. I would come home and all I would hear is like giggling and laughing. I'm like, what are you guys doing in there? You know, I wanted to be a part of it. He ate up all the ice cream. I always made sure that when I went food shopping, I got Isaac his own pint. Brigham's peppermint stick was his favorite. I remember one time when they were going out to dinner for their anniversary. So my daughter was like really excited, and she's getting dressed, she's getting ready. So we had a group chat. So I text Isaac, and I'm like, so where are we going? So he writes back, and he has the laughing emoji. And then he's like, well, Jameer's coming to get me in a little while. This was before he had his car. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll start getting ready. So the next thing I hear the door close. So I text Isaac, and I'm like, she left me. So then I see like silence for a minute, then he writes back, that's messed up. So then he's like, I think she left me too. So then I don't hear anything. So then I call my daughter on the phone, and I'm like, yeah, what are you doing? And she's like, Mom, I told you we were going out to dinner. I'm like, well, where's Isaac? He said you left him. She's like, Isaac's sitting right here in the car. So I'm like, well, you both left me. Like, come on. But we used to have a good time together. We used to play games together, play Pictionary. I loved having him around. And, you know, I didn't know much about his past when I first met him, but when I did find out, it made me love him even more. My whole family loved him. We are all, you know, hurting over this loss. And I just wanted to say that he will always be a part of our family. We will always love him, and to offer my condolences. Thank you.
So if nobody else has anything to say, then I guess we should wrap it up.
All right.
Do you mind if I say something quickly? I know most of you are probably looking at me wondering who I am. I understand that. I worked with Faith several jobs ago, several years ago. Not a public speaker, not sure how this is going to go. My husband and I are here because as a mother, with my oldest son being close to the same age, my heart breaks. But what I have learned and realized today is that in those short 24 years, he has touched so many lives. And whatever he did with all of his heart. I don't know him as well as all of you, but I've learned more about him because of your stories. And that is something to be admired and something I think we can all strive to be more of, to be present in the moment, to listen, to seek beyond ourselves, even when we are struggling, and to just love the way he loved, and listen and live deeply and wholeheartedly, because you just never know. He obviously loved all of you very much, and he touched so many lives in such that short time and made lives better. So my family and I are praying for each and every one of you and offer our condolences, and you will continue to be in our prayers.
This would be called double dipping in the 12-step recovery world. But I just want to say thank you to everybody who came out today. And I think Isaac really would have liked this. And I can't say anything else other than I'm just going to miss this kid so much. He was so many things to me. You know, he was my guy. You know, him and Simon are my best friends. And you know, the best way I could describe this feeling when people were asking me was, it almost feels like somebody performed surgery on me and took out something that I need. And you just feel like you're walking around wounded, and everything I've done for the past 12 days, it's like you're just breaking inside and you're just walking around trying to make the best of it. It's really surreal. But I appreciate every one of you coming out, and I appreciate everybody expressing and showing their love for Isaac. Thank you.